2, 1. I'm alive. It's the AV community meeting. Hello, hello. Matt's here. He's got 10 minutes. Michael's here. I'm here. Sam. Matt, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I just got one thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Within those 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's. If you're already here for 10 minutes, let's spend the thing on your thing. And JP is here. Hey, JP. Yeah, Matt's got to leave in 10 minutes. Go ahead, Matt. What was the thing you wanted to bring up?
Oh, it's just I'm just kind of interested in this link that Mikhail Daltrey put up about. There's some software called Foundry by the CS department at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you create teams like in a Flash and have a path to create specifically web apps. Is what they've first done.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that might be an interesting thing to try on one. I don't know that you'd want to try it on a real project or not, but that was just an idea, maybe to evaluate the software first, and then if it looks good.
Yeah, well, I think if you're interested in it, then go and have an evaluation, find out more, and see if it's a good fit.
Report back, yeah. But that was just my idea. I didn't know if anybody else saw that.
Yes, so I didn't have time to look into it in detail, but yeah, that's
that's not it. It's there's some software that you have to request, so I can request it from Agile Venture.
Sure, sounds good.
We'd like, because it says other groups are evaluating it for creating on-demand teams.
Yeah, I think if you're inspired, check it out.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So no, Pat is joining us. JP is now here. Great to see you, JP. Yeah. So I guess, well, do I do the thing that I guess the last time we had a meeting was 2 weeks ago, and I even forget what we discussed 2 weeks ago. I guess the original proposal for having the meetings was yours, Matt?
Yes.
You
did take some notes, I think.
Yeah. Do you even remember what we discussed last time?
I'm looking at your notes.
There are some notes on the channel.
Right.
Just different ways to expand, to get more sponsors and
right.
That was about it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I've got the notes. Yeah, and of course, right. But that was there was we had a big discussion. Was kind of I think initially prompted by Mikhail. Was reading one of my blogs where I was talking about it's basically crunch time. I'm kind of out of money, and he was like, right, hey, we should do something and support adventures and move forward. So yeah, we're talking about different sustainability, and there was also a chance for me I guess my hope 2 weeks ago had been to facilitate a conversation amongst others. The way that it worked out, I think 2 weeks ago, is it ended up with you guys asking me questions and me telling you a lot of what is going on at the moment. Yeah, so maybe the thing to do first off is well, Matt's got to go in a minute, but JP and Michael, are there particular things that you'd like to focus on today? JP, you're muted.
I know. I was not talking. I was thinking first. I really don't know. So did we reach any conclusion the last time we met?
Well, I think I don't know that we did. I think we came up with certain things which is that we want to try and get more sponsorship. We want to find out why people chose us. I mean, the marketing sort of team and marketing meetings are working their way towards a survey. We've got a couple of interns, but that seems to be lower priority than getting with this new newsletter out and other things. So that the survey, no progress has been made on that. Yeah, I think. I mean, the thing that has happened is we're talking about doing a design sprint for Agile Ventures, specifically in it's like the third week in June. I think it's from June 12th to the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. This is come out of various meetings, but to kind of really get to the bottom of, okay, let's all understand the challenge we're facing, and let's work out what intervention we can have, if any, that might make a difference, and really quickly test it within the course of that week. And so I've managed to successfully complete the NHS Wiki project off the back of a design sprint, and I've got a private customer paying me for doing some separate educational software for a design sprint. So I'm feeling positive about design sprints at the moment, and there's a couple of other people who are also positive. So I think that's a very definite action that's coming up soon. And I plan to clear the week and devote the week to it. Probably few others will be able to do that, but there's lots of room to participate as an occasional expert, or as a tester, or to help with the prototype design for that. So that's kind of a big upcoming thing there.
Do you have anyone else to help you with it, or are you going to do it alone?
No, I'm still not trying to do it. Federico, who is our original Premium Plus member, and is also who just does the podcast, and who actually sponsors several developers in Kenya and India with his own money to give them access, is very keen to be involved in the design sprint. We've also got, other people. We've got a full-time intern at the moment called Blandine, who will probably, we'll see how involved she can get. But at the moment, it's Federico and I are doing this, and I guess what we need to move towards is saying, who else we kind of want to put it out and say, right, who's got time in this week and can be part of the design sprint? And there's like different levels of the full level would be being involved for it's kind of like 6 hours per day. But there are other levels where you could be involved for like 30 minutes on day one as an expert, and or being involved for an hour on day 5 as a tester. So there's room for people who've just got like a little. You can give a little contribution or a lot, and we'll do it all live and transparent. And people just want to dip in and out. That's okay too. But I think they need to realize that the people who are committed to it are going to be the ones who are going to be driving that forward.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay.
So, Michael, did you have anything on your mind?
No, I'll probably want to be involved in the design sprint.
Yeah. Do you think you might be able to be involved in the full level, or just like ad hoc?
Not sure.
Yeah.
What time would the full level be, actually?
Well, we would try and, I think, run it so that it in that overlap between London and East Coast US time, given that that's, where like all of us talking now sit. So that's something that we could negotiate. But I imagine, what we're going to do now, for example, we could start from, I don't know, if we started from 11 a.m. UTC plus 1, and we ran until, we need 6 hours per day. It's just 7, can we run 18 UTC plus 1? I'm going to have it difficult to do my lunch, or just like have but something like this. And so that would be
11 a.m. UTC plus 1 would literally be 6 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast.
6 a.m. EST.
Which is kind of early.
It's a bit early. And that would be until like 1.
7 a.m. to 1 would be
Yeah.
okay. I could do that.
And 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's then
That's
6 hours.
Oh, great.
Okay. Yeah. No. Right. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. No. From noon, like this. Maybe something like this.
I mean, I'd prefer 8 a.m. to 2, but that might be too late for you.
Yeah, I mean that would
personally.
prevent me from taking my children to their activities. Yeah, I have to negotiate with my wife about that. But there, I mean, this, you know, this sort of thing, obviously not any earlier, but maybe later an hour. We'll see. I mean, Federico is even further. I think he's like in is he Mountain Time or Central Time?
7:30 a.m. or something, maybe.
Well, anyway, to be, you know, worked out.
Yeah, because he's probably. Well, wait, isn't he in Maryland now?
I thought he was in Kansas.
But I thought he was going to. Am I totally wrong? I think he's going to Johns Hopkins.
We can
That
work
up in my head.
Yeah, we can work that out when we speak to him. But anyway, so that's the general idea there. So, but JP, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on today?
Not really. No, I don't think so.
The other thing, I mean, from
Sam, yeah,
okay, you got.
you
Thanks,
can
Matt.
count me in for the sprint. So that's it.
Cool.
See you guys.
Excellent. Nice one. All right, so we've got Matt and Michael maybe up for the sprint. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, the other thing that was potentially on the agenda for today was that we had some discussion, like with there's the Myanmar project, and you know, I wrote this case studies document. I don't know if I can go and quickly find case studies here, where I basically tried to outline some of the different funding structures that we have with the project. So, for example, How Can We Network, we had, you know, a small amount of payment, but largely unpaid. And then we've just done the NHS social prescribing thing, where we've got various levels of payment and input from some volunteers, but much more heavily funded. You know, we had the structure we did with the Wikimedia EDU dashboard, where the project manager was paid, but none of the volunteers were. And then there's the Met Plus, where potentially, you know, after a big, long, unpaid thing, there is the possibility of a paid maintenance contract. So, you know, and there are other models, but this was, you know, the Myanmar guy, who's, you know, kind of regular guy introduced by a reliable source, shall we say. He was saying, you know, what are the case studies? What are the ways that we can potentially work together? And so I put this together, and I've sent that to him, and he's responded favorably and said, yes, let's have a. So I'm trying to sort out a meeting with him later in the week, and we'll, like, he's saying, and I sent you the deck, but there's lots more to understand, and you know, it seems to me like the project could be amenable to the kind of approach that we did with the NHS project, where we kind of do a design sprint for understanding, but they're looking for an off-the-shelf solution rather than a bespoke development, which is maybe disappointing, because I mean, I think what we'd all been hoping for was lots of projects where people wanted to pay for like lots of custom software, and we could use all of our software engineering design skills. But there we go. And there was some discussion in the channel here about, you know, should we, like, so Patrick was suggesting might be good to have a retro on the NHS project. And you had a variety of questions there.
And you're quickly becoming a consulting firm.
Yes. Now, is it my imagination?
Consulting on the cheap.
Well, no, it's interesting that you say that.
If you can't afford IBM or something, come to Agile Ventures.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, and I wonder if is this an entirely projection of my mind? But is there, in that, you know, you're becoming a consultant firm, is there a kind of has that got a negative tone there? And it's like, oh, after all these great aspirations for being a software engineer, you're just becoming a consultant and a non-technical person. Is that entirely my projection, or is that there's some of that thought in the statement, Michael?
Perhaps it's just that consultants are kind of, well.
No, go on. consultants are, well, what?
Let's not get into that. I'm on air, so.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's interesting to me.
I mean, consultants are great, and I may someday want to be one. So I
There you
think
go. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's with every profession, right? There's the possibility for abuse. I think you can have management consultants who are coming in and saying, "Oh, this, and it doesn't actually deliver any value to the business. I mean, similarly, you can have lawyers charge an arm and a leg and not deliver any value to the business. Similarly, you can have software engineers charge an actual arm and a leg and build something that no one uses. And I think for me, and what's interesting about having done the NHS HOP project is having delivered something that, I mean, in the long term, we'll see, maybe this will not, I mean, it's, come on, Harry Community Network, we spent a lot of time building the software. It hasn't really ended up being used. We're in the process of pivoting it, but what have you. By using, an off-the-shelf piece of software, we've managed to deliver something much faster to the HOP. It's involved a lot of technical, what I would call DevOps activities, if not programming new functionality for the wiki in order to get it up and get it there. But the thing for me, far more interesting than any piece of software craftsmanship, is actually solving someone's problem, which is like getting to the bottom of understanding what their problem is, and then working out what kind of tool you could potentially use to help them solve their problem, deploying it, getting it out there, and then measuring, and then repeating. And that's like the essential part of everything. What frustrates me about coding boot camps, teaching coding in computer science in universities, is it's kind of like we're in it for the coding when I think we should be in it for the problem solving. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it makes sense. But a great part of the problem solving itself is also the coding, right? So there's
yes. Oh, sure. No, it's not to exclude the coding, and I think it's like if the NHS had more funds, we could have made an even better system for them by adding bits of code. But I was, as part of getting this all to work, I was posting issues on GitHub and working with the maintainer of the moderation project to improve his PHP code so that it would work with the visual editor and all the other bits and pieces that we had in here. Now, if I'd been funded for it, I could have been getting my hands dirty and doing the coding, but it didn't make sense in that context. And interestingly, actually, the things that he's been deploying haven't had acceptance tests on them and so on. So there's room now for, having got the base system out there, we could have volunteers coming in, and we could be, this would be a PHP project that we were sustaining, and there's then room to do all sorts of things off the base, and this actually might see a lot more usage. But that's why, well, and Pat's not here, but it seemed like, as it were, kind of like a retrospective on the NHS project might be of some value going forward. But anyway.
Yeah, so that's basically why I asked one of the questions. If like their values align to ours, and if what we're going to give them, it's something that aligns to what we want as a community as well.
Yes.
So I think that's why I also started talking like a month ago or something on the channel, because at least for me it's a little bit blurry, the what we want to accomplish with AV,
Right.
And that also makes it difficult to think like about the projects. And when you say, oh, so you're becoming a consulting company, effectively that's what's going to happen if you don't, like, let's call it roughly, set boundaries and just accepting things that we believe are aligned with us, and we just do the things that we really think are valuable to us as a community and to the clients, and not just building stuff for people.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, so I think that's all. That's yeah, Michael. Any thoughts on what JP was just saying?
It's great. I think consulting's great, Deloitte's great, McKinsey's great.
Mm-hmm.
They're all great. It's all great. Price Waterhouse Cooper,
Mm-hmm.
the whole gang. Someday Agile Ventures be right there with them. Just as
Yeah.
big, just as
Right,
new.
right. It's just interesting to me. Is there? But the flavor there, sort of what from what you're saying, Michael, seems to be that I don't know if I'm projecting or reading the lines, is like that you know, like being a consulting company means not doing any programming. And is to be avoided. I mean, I guess, like for me, like what we're trying to achieve with AV, for me, is laid out in the objectives in the Constitution.
Well, usually consulting companies usually have like teams of programmers.
Right.
They bring in when consultants have sold people on billable hours
Right.
for programmers.
Uh-huh. But so I guess, but so is the issue here is that the you know, consulting company works for anyone, that they're a kind of a gun for hire, and you know, Agile Ventures should aspire to something more.
Well, let's just say that, you know, like I know people that have worked as consultants, and
Uh-huh.
they kind of say like, have you? There's a show. Let me find it.
Well, I think, and JP is a consultant, and I also.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and I also know lots of consultants as well.
Yeah, but like, what I was trying to say is, if our main objective is to spread, to teach people, it's the teaching part is the big focus on Agile Ventures. I do think we need to win money somehow. That's
Right.
true. But at the same time, we should do it by doing the things that we want to do. So if our objective is to teach people how to TDD, how to pair program, and how to code, ultimately,
Yeah.
that should be like the big chunk of our jobs.
Right.
So of course, maybe we will not be able to get like all the revenue that we need on that, but that should be like the main focus for AV, at least from my point of view.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of, in the Constitution, the charity Constitution for Agile Ventures in the UK, we've specifically set twin objectives, right? One is education, and the other one is supporting nonprofits. And I was really keen to have twin objectives rather than just have education, because there's lots of institutions that supposedly just focus on education, like universities, there's coding boot camps, there's all these other things. And I think personally, I don't want to be any one of those institutions. I have misgivings about, I mean, having taught in, you know, online, in face-to-face, in universities, in coding boot camps, I'm not a fan of those models. And I'm very keen on education, but I feel like, you know, I want to do something different, which is I want the education to be, you know, closely linked to the process of supporting nonprofits and kind of real in context education. So that's my, you know, chief issue there. I mean, I take the concern about, I guess it's about becoming a consulting company is that this is the idea that we would then just be like doing work for hire, and we would lose we would lose both of these, right? Individuals within Agile Ventures and Agile Ventures could just start, being a consulting company and not meeting either of these needs. What we've done with the NHS HLP projects, I mean, they kind of said that they were a charity. I mean, they're basically a government body that we've done work for here. So, I mean, we've talked about, these things. I mean, they're a government body that's committed to the health of the country. So in terms of, it being like, I mean, really, we're trying to support charitable causes. In particular, this project, social prescribing for this thing, is all about connecting healthcare with the voluntary sector in the UK, and it's about doctors being able to recommend that patients go to voluntary organisations to get additional, help and support, and so on. So this is, by having provided this wiki, we're helping support. It's an infrastructure piece for non-profits throughout the UK. So from my point of view, I saw this as a, very much achieving our goals of supporting non-profits, and as a paid project, all of this was available and continues to be available to the premium members. So although there hasn't been that much programming involved, like I think there's an extraordinary amount of learning about delivering to customer needs that arises from having done this project. And I'm kind of, personally, I'm sort of excited to do more projects like this, and do even better at making them educational, so that people can like, because for me, it's like Agile Ventures, we're not coding ventures, right? We're Agile Ventures. So for me, it's all about the Agile process, which is really that cycle of kind of, going from stories, to, some sort of implementation, and then, having a retrospective, and delivering quickly and early, and then going into the retrospective. And for me, I feel like this is the key in some, the coding and the TDD and the testing and yeah, absolutely, but I would say even more important than any of those things is that it's the Agile method, it's the Agile process, at least for me. I don't know, does that make any sense?
Sure. I think the problem is that, at least as I perceive it, is that particularly with the globally distributed team, I think it's hard to educate people in consulting remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to carry out consulting remotely. It's very much like I go in there with a suit or whatever and sit down and talk to people and smile at them and assure them that I'm not actually more intelligent than they are, and these kind of things. And
right,
that's that I'm not here to threaten their job and those kinds of things.
Right.
I'm here on your side. I'm not actually just
okay.
Those kind of things, and like that's hard to. I think it's going to be hard to carry out the education aim to educate people in doing those things online.
Right. Yeah, but I guess okay. Interesting point. JP, did you have anything else on this thought about what I was saying there about how the Agile is above the TD stuff?
Yes. I think you're right. The only issue that I see with that is this is as Michael was saying, it's much easier to with our type of location because we work all remotely. It's much harder for us to do what you did. Like, for example, you went to NHS and did a design sprint for them. having someone else doing that with you would be very hard. So we kind of lose the teaching on the job part of it, and that's something that we can achieve by just in the coding part, because you can always find someone available to code. But then if you need to get this part where you go into places and do stuff, it's much harder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So JP, you're saying there, it's hard, that's only hard to do in-person visits and maintain the educational component.
Yeah,
like
a design sprint and stuff that can be done online, but it's much harder, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a big experiment for us to do this design sprint online, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the NHS thing involved me doing a lot of in-person visits. It's interesting. I mean, I guess what we've had is a situation like with the Harrow Community Network. I've been doing in-person visits to, with local support over the last 5 years, right? I've got permission to record a lot of them and share them. I haven't been able to, when I've gone out to, a local charity event in Harrow, I haven't been able to take people with me. I've recorded them where possible and shared them, and I don't know that taking people along to the consulting component is critical for the learning, in as much as, at least the way I understand Agile is, we need to have a product owner, right? But we have some, and so, I mean, different projects like that we've had, have involved, like MetPlus, it's all been, been remote. But I think the SHF project, I think Susanna knows the Swedish dog charity person and has met them in person and has conversations. But and then they get that. I mean, there's a process whereby you have to adjust the organization that you're working with so that they accept, that they're going to be doing it with some degree of transparency and so on. So I mean, I have a lot of audio recordings of my interaction with the NHS, but I'm not suggesting that the education here is training Michael to be able to go into somewhere and smile at people or make them feel smart. I mean, that's like for me, the consulting part there is part of the need discovery process, right? That you do, and what we've got now out
right,
of doing,
but that's actually the key. The key skill is making them feel non-threatened.
Maybe
That's one of the key skills, right?
Right, maybe so. But I've done that now, and we've got the project, and we've got a 2-year moderation contract for it, and and support, and there's other development that's needed, and so on, right? With a, what we've got with the NHS now is we've got, not just my local up the road voluntary centre thing. We've got a national organisation that's involved and gives us access to all sorts of real stakeholders around the country, right? And I think that's part of the problem that we've had with doing the Harrow Community Network is, there's these organizations, but we haven't had, for all that's great about the Voluntary Action Harrow Cooperative, they haven't really been in a position to kind of phone up people and say, look, this guy's going to come down and do a needs discovery with you. Whereas the NHS is a more top-down organization. They've been able to open doors, and I've gone and met now, groups all over London that are like the Voluntary Action Harrow, and I have access to them because I'm coming from the NHS, right? So I suddenly have access to a much wider range of non-profits, and all of them are interested in the product that's being delivered here. Yeah, and so I would say that the big educational thing. Another thing I would say is that it's not the case that the only key thing of what I was doing with the NHS over the last few weeks was going in and making. I mean, not to undermine these are absolutely very, very important, but a lot of my blood, sweat, and tears over the last several weeks was about figuring out the Media Wiki, which, in order to run the visual editor, uses a Parsoid node service. It's got like a microservice set up that I had to configure with Azure. And so in order to be able to deliver this thing, you know, the big 50% of my work was all technical. I mean, it was DevOps. I wasn't doing so much coding because we just the time frame and the budget didn't allow for it. But now going forward in terms of sort of supporting this community, then, you know, and absolutely, if people had wanted to get involved with that with me, you know, I could have been videoing on that. It could have been pairing. I mean, people seem less keen to do pairing these days. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, I'm trying to address, you know, like now it's clear we've got a long-term commitment to supporting this thing, and you know, I've got like a whole Trello board, and there's a whole series of stories, and some of them could involve programming, and so we've now got the possibility for people to be doing education in context that we're not getting from some of these other things. So, for example, the problem that we might argue here is, you know, who's it just saying to me? Gosh, someone was just having a rant in a channel somewhere saying that the big thing that they felt that, it was Brian, who from the OSRA project, and he was saying that he was talking about some other educational groups in the that, you know, it's still all toy projects, right? And I mean, like you said before, you said, Michael, like John enjoyed that the Hacker Community Network thing had, you know, a big suite of tests, and you know, but still, as you and I have discussed, Michael, this as a, you know, although it's a live system, the number of users really using it never took off, right? So we didn't have, you know, the in-context learning thing there, but I think this has the potential to do so. I mean, similarly with Met Plus, you know, we've struggled to kind of get it live. I mean, it's been a great kind of learning experience, right, JP, but we've struggled to get to that point where it's actually live and people are being put into the system. But this one, lots of people are actually, you know, being pressured by the top donors saying, "Go use this," and actually, there's lots of, you know, people who are organically saying, "Yeah, we need something like this. We need a space to share the information." So I think it's, you know, it's like I see it as a potentially valuable building block for, you know, going over the next few years of being able to provide education in context. And what I've realized I've been doing wrong is, you know, I just should have set up more meetings to get people involved more early in the NHS Wiki project. It's just, it was such a tight deadline. I was focused on, can I actually deliver something for them? But now we can calm down and, you know, does that make any sense?
I understand what you say, and I think the NHS project is a very good project, and that we need to piggyback on it. What I was saying is that sometimes we'll have to do that, where we are not just developing and everything, we're just doing that consulting part, the gathering of catching the clients and getting our word known around. But basically, so that was what I was saying, like we need to show this image from us, and from there we can work with the people inside. And of course, it's going to be very hard to do like design sprints and do that initial part of the grooming of the product owner with a group of people from everywhere. It's going to be very hard.
Yeah, well,
I totally understand it.
Go on.
No, just go.
Yeah. I think. I mean, the interesting thing is, what I'm hoping is, as we deepen the relationship with the NHS and the other organisations, is that they get to accept. I mean, I'm gradually customizing them to Slack and so on, and I'm getting them used to our way of working. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, the question is, going forward, we've got options like this Myanmar project, which seems, you know, from our kind of, you know, supporting non-profits thing, they seem like a good group to be supporting. Probably it would be a similar project in that it would involve quite a lot of needs discovery, then setting something up, and not necessarily so much programming. And it's perfectly, you know, I could certainly see people saying, right, well, you know, if it's all going to be this needs discovery and then I just get involved in a DevOps role, you know, I really want to learn more about coding. So why would I, you know, be involved in this sort of thing? So we got, if we end up to the point that, you know,
where is the Myanmar product owner located?
He's in Myanmar. He's a British guy in Myanmar.
Well, I guess that's all going to be remote then, unless someone's going to fly to Burma.
I'm not planning to. Yeah. Well, that's I think, you know, and he's, you know, he's part of the reason that he's contacted us is, I mean, but this is through the sponsor, our corporate sponsor, and they understand as a result of working with us. Oh, right, you're a guy and you do distributed remote this stuff, and so that's why they're in touch, because he can't. It's difficult for him to get, from other. He's not going to get Deloitte to fly out to Burma for him, or Myanmar as we should call it. But yeah. So I mean, I think it's certainly worth having that conversation with them. Whether that will lead to some sort of payment framework is another story.
I think if he had enough money, Deloitte would fly people out to Burma.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. No,
it's just a question of how much he has.
Right. And yeah, I mean, absolutely. But this is that we're in this non-profit space, right? Where the non-profits are, going to be resource constrained, and they will have some money, and we're going to have to be looking at these individual projects on a case-by-case basis about, are they supporting our goals, and are they worth the time?
Yeah.
So he might be.
Hold on, Michael. Go on, JP. What were you saying?
So basically, that was what I was saying. And what I think we need to, when we get these projects, and I think we need to not only think in the present, like the NHS project, we need also to think in the future, and we need to think what kind of doors they will open, and if they are worth it, because the objective, and we need to see what kind of people also we have currently maybe, and what their interests are. Because if all the projects start being like a very develop-oriented project, and we don't have people to support that inside the community, I think it's going to be very hard. And so we need also to have that into consideration.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Very good point. Yeah, I'm just posting our link in there.
So I was going to
go on, Michael. What were you going to say?
That I mean, I'm interested in DevOps. It's just, I guess with this Burma, the Myanmar thing, that may be an ideal project to look at for learning more about if people can really do remote use discovery, like how to do that successfully online.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, although it's good that we can have that chat. I mean, the thing for me, and this is one of the things that frustrated me in the boot camp, is when I was trying to get students to do kind of like need discovery, and I was trying and they were like, but we just learn how to code. We want to code, and it's like building a Rails app because that's what you know how to build, when that actually is rather a long route to meeting somebody's needs. I don't know, there's something like strangely backward about that. And I think, I mean, the what could be the great long-term thing is if we manage to establish these good relationships with groups that are doing good things and can, get known for that, then I think all sorts of interesting projects can come our way, and then that's the kind of thing that pulls in folks. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to balance this thing, as you've said, Margaret. It's just like when people are paying for stuff, you don't want to muck around, and so sometimes you're tempted to just get something done rather than spend hours discussing the options with people who are like, I'm not sure, and then they're not going to turn up the next day. So yeah, getting the balance right. Good stuff. Right, well, my time is up. Really appreciate your
Okay. So that's it from my side. I don't think I have anything else to add. It's good. I think it's going to be a good opportunity, this Myanmar project, for us to see how it works and see if we can get more people involved, so we are not so independent, because your time, it's only 24 hours a day. So
yeah,
you can need to have more people around.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Go on.
Well, I think as John has told me, the key is to get Sam to get his family involved in AV, then family time becomes AV time.
There you go.
That's a very good
Right.
option.
I'll go and put that to my family at the dinner table and see what they say. Good stuff. All right, nice one. Thanks, guys. I'll see you real soon. Bye for
Have a
now.
nice day. Bye.
Cheers.